The presidents of UCLA, Rutgers, and Northwestern universities face highly charged questions today from a Republican led panel of lawmakers that is investigating campus anti Semitism. This is the third time the House Committee on Education and the Workforce has summoned university presidents to testify in the wake of Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel and protests that have ensued on campuses across the country during the Israel Gaza war. More than 24 officers in riot gear descended on UCLA this afternoon, facing off with pro Palestinian protesters who had erected a new encampment on campus hours earlier and during the time that its president was on Capitol Hill testifying before GOP lawmakers. Now, the move came amid escalating tensions between pro Palestinian students and their faculty allies and administrators on the Los Angeles campus. Also, the Academic Workers Union announced today that it is authorizing or expanding a strike that will now impact both campuses at UCLA and Davis. That strike is set to take place on Tuesday as union leaders contend that their free speech rights were violated when the UC system leaders called on police to remove pro-Palestinian encampments. And Daniel Perry, a former U.S. Army sergeant, was convicted of murdering a protester at a Black Lives Matter rally in 2020, was released from prison after he was pardoned by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Abbott's decision comes after the Texas Board of Pardon and Paroles voted unanimously to recommend a full pardon and the restoration of firearm rights for Perry, who was sentenced to 25 years in prison. And the Justice Department today announced it has filed a lawsuit against Ticketmaster's LA-based parent company Live Nation Entertainment, seeking to break up the company over allegations that it created an illegal monopoly over the live entertainment industry. The government, joined by 29 states and the District of Columbia, accuses Live Nation of using its power to dominate the industry by forcing venues into exclusive ticketing contracts and influencing artists to only use its services. Threatening its competitors with financial retribution is also one of the claims made against Live Nation. And Cassie Ventura, she thanked her supporters today and spoke out against domestic violence. This is the first time that the singer who was seen on that horrific video of 2016 being assaulted by Sean P. Diddy Combs spoke out to the public. She said in this Instagram post that the outpouring of love has created a place for my younger self to settle and feel safe now. But she says this is only the beginning. She also prompted supportive comments from fans, as well as she received comments from folks like Kelly Rowland. She said that domestic violence is the issue. She said domestic violence broke her down to someone she never thought she would become. Cassie went on to say, with a lot of hard work, I am better today, but I will always be recovering from my past. This is the news of the day, and this is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. And this is hour 2 of Areva Martin in real time, and this is the hour where we go deep, where we dig behind those headlines and bring you those stories that people are talking about. Today, I'm excited. I'm going one-on-one with Mayor Stephen Reed. He happens to be the president of the African American Mayors Association. Now, you maybe didn't know there are over 500 African American mayors across this country. And Mayor Reed is now the president of this association. He took the helm at the time that Black mayors across the country governed 4 of the largest cities in the country: New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Philadelphia. But despite the successes that we've had in electing Black mayors to big cities, many Black mayors face attacks from several state legislatures. And these state legislatures, mostly red legislatures in red states, are threatening the ability of these mayors to govern their own cities. These mayors also are facing an assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion from activists in the courts. They have seen their own programs in many cities be restricted or at least be under attack by lawsuits filed by these right-wing activist groups who want to erode or eliminate any programs that particularly address issues of minorities. Mayor Reed has been Montgomery, Alabama's mayor for the past 5 years, and he is the first African American to hold that position. And he is the only mayor in Alabama to serve on the Board of Trustees for the U.S. Council of Mayors. We are so excited to welcome Mayor Reed to the program and to talk about what is going on in these cities. I'm really interested in how mayors in particular can be more involved in helping move their residents, their citizens, to the Democratic Party and ensuring that at the top of the ticket that President Biden and Harris are reelected, that we reelect a democratically controlled Senate, and that we retake control of the U.S. House of Representatives. I also want to talk to the mayor about reparations, because there are many cities around the country, like St. Louis, my hometown, that have commissioned reparations commissioners and who are studying the impact of slavery and systemic racism on cities. But they are meeting with opposition from, again, their state legislatures, like what's happening in Shelby County, Tennessee, Memphis, for example. So we got a lot to talk with Mayor Reed about. When we come forward, the president of the African American Mayors Association, Alabama's Mayor Stephen Reed, joins me. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, Tavis Smiley here. We're getting closer to June 18th, and time is running out for you to register to join us for our historic symposium live on C-SPAN, Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com right now if you want to be in the audience when the nation will see for the first time ever a stage full of brilliant Black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's all going down. Well, it's actually all going up. Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. live from the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Again, admission is free, but we're filling up fast. So if I were you, I would log on right now to KBLA1580.com to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The Supplemental Security Income Program provides monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI to start to apply. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative NBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
We are back, and in this hour, we're going to be talking with Montgomery, Alabama Mayor Stephen Reed. He is the president of the African American Mayors Association. representing over 500 mayors across the country. He was the first African American elected and then re-elected in 2023 as the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama. But before Mayor Reed comes on, we're going to show you a video of another mayor, mayor of Baltimore, Maryland, just to give you a sense about how dynamic many of these 500 mayors are African American mayors and what they are doing to improve the lives of citizens in their respective cities. Let's take a look at this video.
Baltimore is the greatest city in America because of its people. That's why we're known as Charm City. The people that have come through Baltimore, from Thurgood Marshall to Elijah Cummings, the home of the national anthem. We have great Black-owned restaurants like Darker Than Blue. The best crab cakes in the world are at Coco's Pub. You have every spectrum here in the city of Baltimore. You have very high earners, and then you have folks who are struggling. And that's kind of what pushed me into service. Any issue that is plaguing our city, it has to all be taken back to its core. We know that's a result of systematic racism and policies that were implemented in the past. Baltimore is the birthplace of redlining. It's very important for cities to target things like nutrition access, especially because if you're in a city where you have that kind of history, we have to step in.
Our produce box distribution programs connect Baltimore City residents to healthy, affordable, fresh produce. We have partnered with over 100 community organizations to help us distribute over 8,000 boxes per week. The residents who benefit from our program live in what we like to call healthy food priority areas. And what's really exciting about our program is that we do offer culturally competent recipes that complement what is inside of the boxes.
Public-private partnerships are important because no government, no private entity, no religious and faith organization can solve these issues on its own. So everyone coming together is the only way that you're going to tackle tough problems. The grant from the American Beverage Foundation for a Healthy America will help us because this will allow programs to continue into Baltimore and continue to meet the need of Baltimoreans who, one, love their healthy produce boxes, but two, also with the rising cost of inflation on food, and particularly produce and healthy food, this will allow those individuals to still be able to eat the right way, but also continue to provide the other things that their families need. So we're very grateful. Thank you to the American Beverage Foundation for a Healthy America and the African American Mayors Association for helping Baltimore and cities around the country improve the lives of their residents.
Of Baltimore, touting what he's doing to improve the health and overall lives of the citizens of Baltimore. But joining me in this hour is the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, Mayor Stephen Reed. Welcome to the show, Mayor Reed, and thank you so much for joining me. I want to first say congratulations on being reelected and being the first African-American mayor of the city of Montgomery, Alabama, and also on being elected as the president of the African-American Mayors Association.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I'm honored to represent my fellow mayors like Mayor Scott and so many more, over 500 plus mayors who are leading cities, towns, and villages all across this country to prosperity during tough times. But it's an honor to represent both my city of Montgomery as well as the association itself. And thank you for the work that you do as well.
Oh, great. I'm so glad you're here because I happen to live in one of these cities that has a Black mayor. I live in Los Angeles, so Mayor Karen Bass is my mayor. And I'm originally from St. Louis, where Mayor Tashara Jones happens to be the mayor and happens to be a good friend of mine. So I have the privilege of being surrounded by two great female, Black female mayors. And one of the things I want to say, Mayor Reed, is a lot of folks are probably going to be shocked to even know that there are 500 plus Black mayors, you know, folks like Eric Adams from New York, Karen Bass, Los Angeles, Brandon Scott in Chicago. You hear a lot about, I think it's Brandon Johnson, I'm sorry, hear a lot about those big city mayors, but 500 plus Black mayors, that's quite impressive.
Well, it is, and I think it shows the voting strength of African Americans all across this country, and certainly they're not all representing majority Black communities. As you mentioned with Mayor Bass. But I think it shows what happens when we're given an opportunity, when we have the resources that are needed, and when Our ideas are put out there firsthand. It resonates with people, not just from our certain groups or backgrounds, but it resonates with most people in our respective communities. And I think that's what I appreciate so much about my colleagues and what I learned from them and talking to them about some of the challenges, but also some of the chances in their respective cities.
So we know a lot of mayors, as you said, don't represent majority Black cities. And we've seen recently some Black mayors of cities come under attack from those even within their cities. I'm thinking about San Francisco Mayor London Breed. She was heralded as, this rising star when she was first elected mayor of San Francisco. But her election is coming up. She's drawn several challengers, Democratic challengers, and she's been widely critiqued for what folks say is, rising crime in the city of San Francisco, for the loss of several big real estate, partners, or big department stores like Nordstrom's that left the center of downtown San Francisco. So, talk to us about some of the challenges that Black mayors face in these times. Mayors like Mayor London Breed.
Well, let me speak to Mayor Breed, who's one of the first to reach out with a congratulatory note when I won office in 2019, and I watched her from afar. I think that in large part what has happened in our cities across the country is not due to any one person or due to any one action. Usually they're due to many factors, a lot of which are out of the control of the mayor. That said, we understand that when we run for the seat and when we ask people to put us in as CEO of our respective cities. But I do believe, in my opinion, that African-American mayors come under a different level of scrutiny and expectation, not just externally, but also internally. And I think we have to acknowledge some of those different rules that we have for mayors across this country. And I think that what Mayor Breed has come into, again, market forces, COVID, change of economy as it relates to people coming to work, coming downtown. And certainly a lot of cities are dealing with the challenges of homelessness and the cost of housing going above what they can afford, especially in states like California and other states where the cost of living continues to increase. That's why the African-American mayors have a homeless task force that Mayor Karen Bass is so integral of being a part of, given her background in Congress and what she is now doing in Los Angeles. So there are those challenges and those expectations, but I believe that the other piece that we have to also keep in mind is not all of us have friendly state legislatures. And when you don't have a friendly state legislature or a friendly business community, it can make the job a lot tougher. And those are things, again, that are outside the control of the mayor's office, of City Hall, but we often have to deal with. And that just compounds the everyday issues that so many of us are dealing with across the country, regardless of the size of our city or our community.
So you mentioned, Mayor Reed, that you believe that Black mayors face a different level of scrutiny, different level of expectations. And obviously, we see in some red states like Missouri, like Tennessee, the Democratic mayors are often at odds with their state legislatures that are oftentimes controlled supermajority by Republicans. But what about Black citizens, African Americans in cities where you have these 500 plus mayors? Do you believe that Black folks overall have, oversized expectations of what a Black mayor should do? And I'm just thinking back, like when I was a kid, I don't even know what time period it was, but whenever Coleman Young was the mayor of Detroit, I remember my father, who lived in Detroit, talking a lot about how Coleman Young created wealth for Black folks in Detroit. And Black people really, loved him because, my father would say he created more Black millionaires in Detroit than any other mayor had done. Is that the expectation, for the most part, that African Americans have, that when there is a Black mayor, that there's going to be more wealth, more wealth creation for Black business owners and Black entrepreneurs?
I think that, anytime a group, and it's not just relegated to Black people in this country, anytime you have someone who you believe shares a similar vision, background, culture, you expect there to be greater sensitivity and a greater understanding of the needs, and thereby those needs having a higher priority. And I think when it comes to Black mayors, we do see that, and that's fine. We're up for the challenge where that's concerned. But when we think about some of the good old days, we have to remember they weren't always good. And not all of them were, as clean and as sunny as we might imagine them now. So history has a way of improving things, if you will, whether you're Coleman Young, Maynard Jackson, Marion Barry, Carl Stokes, Tom Bradley. You go down the list of those first wave of Black mayors in the 70s, late 60s that came into office in major cities and then southern cities like Johnny Ford and Tuskegee and so many others. So when you think about these different level of mayors and communities, sometimes the expectations can be very optimistic, and I think that it's up to us to kind of inform the people what we are doing, who's stopping us from doing more of what we would like to do, and what our plan is to address those issues. Certainly when it comes to building wealth, that is a priority for the African American Mayors Association. It is a priority of my 1-year presidency to continue to support and to recapitalize Black businesses throughout this country. I was talking with Ray McGuire here today about that very thing on a panel. And so when we have people like that, and John Rogers and so many others that are encouraging us, David Stewart and others across the country, we have an example to look for. And more importantly, we have partnerships. And that's what we want to do, because we believe prosperity for those that we represent benefits our communities respectively. And we believe in doing that in an equitable manner and fashion, and one that goes against the grain of where current politics are right now. But it's something that many of us believe is not only a core principle of us as mayors, but it's a core principle of what we want to do in our capacity as city leaders and as CEOs of our communities.
But how realistic is that? And yes, I understand that we like to fantasize and be revisionist in our history when we think of some of those early pioneering mayors, and some of the things that are credited to them, might be exaggerated in some ways, and we definitely will whitewash some of the issues that some of them had. But clearly they laid the foundation, they opened the doors, and we all stand on their shoulders. And they were able to, in those periods, different periods, maybe do more because of certain federal laws, certain state laws, less hostile state legislatures. But now, with the attacks on affirmative action, with the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I know expanding minority contractors was one of the things that you were credited for as mayor of Montgomery. But how realistic is that, given some of the constraints that have been placed on governmental entities because of decisions made by the U.S. Supreme Court and others, courts?
The elders would say we find a way out of no way. This is one of those examples where we are revisiting what many of our predecessors had to deal with, and we'll find a way out of no way. And I believe that we will be able to navigate this challenge that we're seeing legally from the conservative and the far right to turn back the clock in many things where gains have been made post civil rights. And it's one of the reasons, again, why I think it's so important that we vote, so important that we continue to emphasize that, because voting and elections have consequences. They also have chances to be had. So it's tougher now and will be, but I believe that we will continue to see the progress. I believe that we will be innovative in our approach to make sure that we are building wealth and giving marginalized communities and marginalized businesses and those who have not had a chance to get in the process to still do that. We may have to tweak it here, we have to tweak it there, but I believe that we'll be able to get it done. And so what we have, I believe, is a temporary setback, but it's one that really has caused, I think, a lot of mayors, those that I speak with across the country, to really understand that in a post-Obama world, we are dealing in different political circumstances. We thought maybe Trump was here today and gone tomorrow, but I think they have shown, along with former Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, that their approach to stacking the court
I need you to hold that thought. Hold that thought for me. Hold that thought for me, Mayor Reed. When we come forward, we'll definitely talk some politics here. We're going to talk about reparations, talk about crime, and talk about the significance of the November general election, presidential election that's coming up. Stay with us. More with Mayor Stephen Reed right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Minnesota is joining the U.S. government in suing Live Nation, the parent company of Ticketmaster. The Department of Justice filed an antitrust lawsuit alleging that Live Nation, quote, relies on unlawful anti-competitive conduct to exercise its monopolistic control over the live events industry, end quote. Black State Attorney General Keith Ellison issued a statement saying that people are fed up with having no option but to fork over their hard-earned money for the high prices and hidden fees that Ticketmaster routinely charges. Ellison says he's proud to join the DOJ in holding Live Nation accountable. Slain civil rights leader Malcolm X is the newest member of the Nebraska Hall of Fame. The Omaha native became the 27th member of the state's Hall of Fame recently. He also is the first African American to be inducted. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Over in Lincoln Heights, an accident is currently blocking 3 left lanes with a big rig involved on the 5 North after Broadway. Right now, stop traffic is stacked from Indiana. In Elysian Park, a crash has been cleared from lanes of the 5 South at Riverside Drive with a 15-20 minute backup in recovery from Colorado Street. Back in North Hollywood, heavy traffic is ahead on the 170 North between Victory Boulevard and the 5. Meanwhile, on the 210 East in Pasadena between Mountain Seco Street interchange and Grand Avenue, a 45-minute traffic jam still runs heavy. Making our way back through Anaheim Hills, expect a 40 to 45-minute traffic jam on the 91 East between Glassell Street, Kramer Boulevard Split, and Gypsum Canyon Road.
Don't miss the best Springfest deals right now at Lowe's. Save big on Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil. Get 5 bags for just $10. Offer valid through 5/1. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii while supplies last.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Major League Baseball is trying to improve the number of American black players on the pro level, but the percentages keep dropping. The Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sports, a research group based at Central Florida University, released their data today on the current number of black players on Major League rosters this season. Only 6% of the players on MLB's 30 teams are black. That's down from 6.2% in 2023 and 7.2% in 2022. When the Institute first started tracking these numbers in 1991, 18% of Major League players were black. MLB still has some work to do to get more black players in the game. The Lakers aren't the only NBA team looking for a head coach. Cleveland fired J.B. Bickerstaff today. The Cavaliers won 99 games over the past 2 seasons with Bickerstaff and made it to the second round of the playoffs this year. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, Tavis Smiley here. We're getting closer to June 18th and time is running out for you to register to join us for our historic symposium live on C-SPAN, Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com right now if you want to be in the audience when the nation will see for the first time ever a stage full of brilliant Black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's all going down. Well, it's actually all going up. Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. live from the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Again, admission is free, but we're filling up fast. So if I were you, I would log on right now to KBLA1580.com to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per hour.
There's only a few days left for open enrollment, starting at $0 a month. LA Care Covered offers the benefits you need to achieve your health goals. $0 preventive services, 24/7 virtual care and nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, free fitness and nutrition classes, and more. Become a member of LA's most affordable health plan. Get a free instant quote at lacarecovered.org. Have open enrollment questions? Connect with us today at 855-222-4239. Find your affordable path to wellness with LA Care Covered today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm back, and in this hour, I'm talking with Montgomery, Alabama's Mayor Stephen Reed. He is the first African American to be elected as mayor in Montgomery, Alabama, and he now is the president of the African American Mayors Association, representing over 500 Black mayors across the country. Thank you, Mayor Reed, for sticking around and joining me today. I know that you and your colleagues were just in Atlanta at a big conference of the African American Mayors Association. And my mayor, I call her my mayor, Tashara Jones, I know she reported out at that conference that over the 3 years that she's been in office, that there's been a substantial, I think she said 40% reduction in crime in the city of St. Louis. But why is it that we continue to see this narrative being put forth that urban cities, particular cities like St. Louis, Chicago, that they have some of the highest rates of crime? We even saw Donald Trump today in the Bronx talking about what he calls the destruction of New York City as a result of Democratic mayors, and presumably talking about Black Mayor Eric Adams. Is there a public relations issue around crime, particularly crime in cities that are governed by Black mayors?
I don't want to ever minimize, the perception, more importantly, the reality of crime in our respective cities. Crime can be up 100% if it happens to you. And it doesn't matter what our data says and what other information that we may have. So I'm very sensitive to that. And as one who has been robbed at gunpoint, I understand that firsthand. When you are confronted with any type of crime, whether it's one of a nature that or just someone, stealing your phone out of your car or something else. So I understand that. But I do believe that we have to be very honest about it. This has been a trope that's been used since the late 60s in President Nixon. And this is something that those on the right would prefer to use as it relates to the challenges of cities, to focus on those challenges as opposed to the successes. And when we see that coming, it has a partisan bent for sure, and sometimes it has a racial bent, and we have to acknowledge that. And I think that for mayors, we're trying to push our cities. We're trying to push out the positives that are happening, because when you look at so many cities, you have seen economic recovery. You have seen many of our cities flush with resources that have not been available for decades, in large part due to the Biden-Harris administration and their policies, whether it was the Inflation Reduction Act, whether it was the IIJA, the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, or other initiatives that they've taken, whether it was cutting back student loans, whether it was supporting small businesses. All of those things have helped us and helped our bottom lines and helped those pocketbooks. So we've had a lot of positives in the city. So I don't even try to respond to just this notion of crime as that's the only issue. Public safety is at the top of all of our lists as African-American mayors across this country. We understand that. We understand it probably better than most, because so many of us have come into contact one way or the other with our legal system and our justice system, oftentimes through our interaction with police. And when you consider that many of us were coming into our first terms right after George Floyd was murdered, there was a certain reset that we had to make. And so for Mayor Jones in St. Louis and Mayor Scott in Baltimore to see those reductions, I think we have to highlight them more, because the national narrative, the conservative media, those on the right want us to focus on all the things that are wrong in our cities, all the things that are ailing our communities, as if they just happen overnight, as if they are things that just started to happen when certain mayors became leaders in their city hall. So we have to put it in context, and we have to make sure that we understand through which lens we should view it, while recognizing that far too many people in Black and brown communities in particular are victims of crime, and what ways we can go about changing that. And obviously, Mayor Jones and others across this country are doing a great job with those reduced numbers.
So the other issue that clearly plagues big cities like my other city, Los Angeles, is the issue of homelessness. And we know in places like LA and in other big cities, the number of people who are living on streets, who are living in tents, who are living under freeways, there seems to be, or there not just seems to be, there is a disproportionate number of those folks who are Black. If you, I volunteer a lot at a shelter here in Los Angeles, and just breaks my heart. You go to the shelter, disproportionate number of Black men, Black families, Black children, and just nationwide, the stats bear that out, that there is a disproportionate number of Black people who are living on our streets. What are Black mayors in particular doing? And I know Mayor Bass is under tremendous pressure here in LA to fix, like you just said, a problem that she didn't create, a problem that has, been 30, 40 years in the making. But when people elect someone, there is this expectation that that person, is going to fix it. And the opponent, I remember in Mayor Bass's campaign, I was very heavily involved in her campaign, and her opponent, Rick Caruso, a wealthy billionaire developer, his whole campaign was, I'm a developer. I know how to build housing. I can fix this housing crisis. And a lot of folks who would be, clearly not ever thinking of voting for someone like him, were so disturbed by the homeless issue in LA that they were willing to give him a shot. And it wasn't clear that Mayor Bass would be Mayor Bass at the time when she ran. So how are Black mayors addressing this issue of homelessness, because it does impact our community in such a disproportionate way?
Well, I hope the citizens of LA are taking up Mr. Caruso on that offer, since he's a developer and he's in the private sector, not occupying City Hall. Let's see how many homes he has developed. What are his initiatives? That's the great thing about running for office and putting ideas out. If you don't win, doesn't mean that you can't still do it. For many of his ilk, they would abhor what government structures and responsibilities they have. So in the private sector, I would hope that he is building those homes that he said he would build, because I believe that he can certainly not only help LA, but set a model for other communities to follow. Now, if he's not, then maybe we have to look at whether or not he was truly interested in doing that in the first place. That being said, the problem of homelessness is not one that's just relegated to large cities. It's not one that is just relegated to cities in a certain geography. We're seeing this across this country, and we're seeing it for many reasons, in part because the cost of living has gone up in many of our communities. Wage growth is not keeping up with the jobs that are available, and the cost of living in many of the cities just is outpacing it. So many people are on a slippery slope when it comes to that. But we also have to look at what fixes can we do at the local and state and federal level to assist those in the homelessness? What can we do to advocate for those that are have empty buildings that have been sitting idle for years, to turn some of that space into residences? Can there be incentives and abatements that we use for other forms of recruiting and for other forms of growth, economic development wise, in this same way? So what I talked with Mayor Bass about just 2 weeks ago was about how can we take her initiatives that she has brought forth in Los Angeles, and how can we push them to a larger level? The U.S. Conference of Mayors held a homeless day or two on the Hill. I really want to say it was a more of a homeless campaign on the Hill, where over 30 mayors showed up to advocate for different rule changes, not only from HUD, but throughout the federal government, even the VA, so that people don't have to choose between getting assistance as a veteran and then that counting against their income, which then puts them in a different category that impacts their ability to get homeless, or their ability to get homes, and keeps many of them homeless in that same regard. So we're looking at fixes administratively and policy-wise that can help that. And the other thing we have to also be aware of is, how do we support those who are falling on tough times due to mental health, due to other chemical...
Yeah, no doubt about it. When we come forward, last segment, I got to talk to you about this election that's coming up. It's scaring a lot of people. A lot of folks are nervous, thinking that we may not get a second Biden-Harris administration. Stay with us. I am talking with Mayor Stephen Reed from Montgomery, Alabama, when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Again, congratulations to you, Mayor Stephen Reed, on your reelection as the first African-American mayor for the city of Montgomery, Alabama. And also congratulations on being the president of the African-American Mayors Association. I know you got a big job ahead of you, but you expressed that you're excited and optimistic about what Black mayors across this country can get done. However, we got a big election year. This is a big election year, and a lot of folks are worried right now, Mayor Reed, worried about these polls that have been out recently that suggest that Donald Trump has a sizable lead over Joe Biden, particularly in battleground states, concerned about the Gaza war, concerned about young people who are protesting on college campuses, who are saying they are not going to support President Biden and Vice President Harris if they don't make a dramatic change on their approach to this war, and so many other issues that are motivating Democrats who otherwise will be solidly in the Biden-Harris camp to say they aren't so solidly there, particularly Black voters. So I'm just wondering what you're hearing in your city and what you're thinking about this election.
Well, I'm excited about the election and the record that President Biden has relative to that of former President Donald Trump. I believe that as the campaign comes into focus and people get a chance to see the contrast between the two, that there will be a change of enthusiasm and energy as it relates to potential voters. I'm not as scared as some others, but I certainly am concerned that it's not more clear to our voters what's at stake. And we don't have enough time for me to go through that on this visit. Maybe you'll ask me back and we can discuss it. But, you know, I think that whether it's issues we were just talking about around public safety, homelessness, supporting minority and Black-owned businesses, infrastructure, climate and sustainability, all of those things are on the ballot this November. And so I think the Biden campaign is starting to drill down a little bit and starting to show the split screen, if you will, between President Biden and President Trump. And I think that across this country, you'll see more mayors, members of the African American Mayors Association. I think you'll see more elected officials, more influencers of all stripes, more community leaders, more faith leaders, bring this into focus because this election season is here. It is upon us. The nominees have been set. The conventions will be an afterthought. And we know what we have to do in order to win, in particular in those swing states. And I want to remind people, because I know you have a national audience and beyond, that it only took a few thousand votes when you look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin to elect Donald Trump, which changed our Supreme Court, which changed our judiciary, and changed our domestic policy on so many things that we're dealing with right now. And I think it's very important that potential voters understand that because that's what's going to be on the ballot all across this country. And I will also say this, as someone who has won a down ballot race in a presidential year, and that was 2012 when I was elected as the first countywide probate judge in Montgomery, the first Black probate judge on the heels of President Obama's reelection. Without that, I wouldn't have won in 2012. And so you never know who else you're bringing to the table when we come out and vote down ballot at the state and local level, and what outcomes you have from there as well. So I want us to make sure that we aren't just looking at this as just a federal race and one about the president, but we're talking about Senate, Congress, and other offices that impact our daily lives and many other things that you and your listeners discuss each and every day on your show.
But Mayor Reed, I don't think we can ignore what we're seeing on these college campuses, the widespread protest over the Biden administration's approach to the Israel-Hamas war. Students who are saying that Biden is supporting genocide. The protests that we see follow the president and the vice president wherever they go. How are we can't win if we don't turn out our base. Our base includes those students who otherwise are super liberal, super progressive, who would vote Democratic. How are we going to convince them to vote if we are still in this position with respect to the war? Now, Biden obviously doesn't have a magic wand. He can't force Benjamin Netanyahu to end his attack. But what a lot of these students want to see is the administration take a different stance as it relates to providing aid, as it relates to providing funding for Israel. And if the president, who seems pretty resolute in not withdrawing any support or aid for Israel, how are we going to convince those students not to be single issue voters and to think about the student loan debt relief, to think about the Black women judges that have been appointed, to think about the economic recovery and all the other things that this administration has done?
Well, I was just with the president on Saturday prior to his commencement address to the class of 2024 at Morehouse College, my alma mater. And I had the opportunity to talk with Cedric Richmond, who was one of the co-chairmen of the Biden-Harris campaign, as well as former Columbia, South Carolina Mayor Steve Benjamin, who is now director of the Office of Public Engagement. And we spoke about the protests. We spoke about what young people are saying and how they are making their voices heard. And we all respect that. We respect the change that they bring. When we think about this nation, we think about college protesters from the sit-in movements and those freedom riders. There's so many others who brought so much change all the way through the anti-war movement as well. So we appreciate that, and I know the Biden administration does as well. I think what they want to make sure they share is that they have called for a ceasefire, that they are putting pressure on Israel to do better about how they are responding. And also they're trying to make sure that, there is a two-state solution somewhere along the pathway. And I think that's what the president can do. There are certain levers that our government can use, maybe some others that people want them to use. And I'm not sure they've taken anything off the table at this point. But I believe there's time to have these conversations. They're back and forth. And for young voters, those college graduates, who are our current and future leaders to understand where this president is, where his values are, and not just about Russia and Ukraine, and not just about Israel as well, and what we're seeing with the Palestinians, but also what we see in Haiti, what we see in sub-Saharan Africa. We have to address human rights issues all across this world and this globe, even in Asia. So it's important for us to understand the global context where that's concerned. And I think the Biden administration will continue to have those conversations with activists and protesters and young people to make sure they understand, again, what's at stake in November, what this administration has done for their future, and how they're investing, along with the concerns that they may have about his foreign policy and how that is playing out in the Middle East.
Well, I'm glad you're so optimistic. We are out of time. I didn't get to talk with you about something really near and dear to me as a civil rights lawyer, and that's reparations. I've been heavily involved in some cases across the country, and I know cities like St. Louis and others have created these reparations commissions, and they are doing the work at the local level that we aren't seeing done at the federal level. So I'd love to have you come back to talk about reparations and where you think the reparations movement is going, as it is being led in many cases by cities and cities that have Black mayors. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all the great work you are doing with the African American Mayors Association and in your city in terms of leading the way. And hopefully your predictions about there being time for this election is true. We've got to keep working at it for sure. But again, thanks so much for joining me, Mayor Reed. When we come forward, more on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't touch.
Adding that 80% of them identify within diverse racial and ethnic groups. Memphis, Tennessee Mayor Paul Young is looking to reappoint interim Black Police Chief C.J. Davis. Young, who is also Black, plans to make